There is a place within you that no one sees at first glance. It's not the smile you wear when the world is watching, nor the tone of your voice when you speak in public. It is the hidden seat of your thoughts, your hopes, your fears, the quiet room where your decisions are birthed before they ever reach the world. That place is your heart. And life has taught me something about the heart. It is both a treasure and a target. A treasure because from it flows your identity, your creativity, your love. A target because the enemy knows that if he can corrupt the source, he can control the stream. The scripture says, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. But guarding your heart doesn't mean living behind stone walls, disconnected from people. No, boundaries are not prisons. They are gates. Gates that open for what is pure and close to what would destroy you. Think of a city. No matter how beautiful its buildings, no matter how rich its resources, if its gates are unguarded, invaders will come. Some will come smiling, others will come with weapons. And that is why discernment must stand watch. Every conversation, every opportunity, every connection, they are not all equal. Some look like blessings but carry the seed of distraction. Others feel like burdens but are secretly bridges to where you need to go. You must ask yourself, who or what have I given unfiltered access to my heart? Because whatever you permit will shape what you produce. If you let bitterness enter, love will suffocate. If you let comparison linger, your confidence will starve. If you let fear dominate, your vision will shrink until you stop moving altogether. But guarding your heart is not just about keeping things out. Sometimes it is about closing the gate long enough for healing to happen inside. You cannot plant new dreams in soil that has not been cleared of the stones of the past. Healing is not a sign of weakness. It is a strategy of strength. And here's the paradox. A guarded heart is actually a free heart. Because when you have drawn the boundaries that honor your soul, you can love without fear, serve without resentment, and give without losing yourself. So, my challenge to you today is this: stand at the gate of your own heart. Choose what enters, protect what is sacred, and never apologize for the boundaries that keep your soul whole. Because the truth is, when your heart is guarded, your life is guided. The heart is not simply a physical organ pumping blood through our veins. It is the spiritual and emotional control room of life. Everything we are, everything we say, everything we do begins there long before it reaches the surface. Before words form on your tongue, they are conceived in the heart. Before a decision is acted upon, it is weighed in the heart. Before a habit is built, it is rooted in the patterns of the heart. That is why so much of life's direction depends on the state of this inner place. If the heart is healthy, life flows with clarity, courage, and conviction. If the heart is wounded, contaminated, or unguarded, everything that flows out of it becomes distorted. Imagine a river that runs through a city, supplying water to every home. The water can only be as clean as its source. If the spring is pure, the city thrives. If it is poisoned, no matter how beautiful the city looks from the outside, the life inside it begins to decay. Your heart is that source. Your relationships, dreams, character, and destiny are downstream from whatever is happening inside it. This is why you cannot afford to treat the condition of your heart as a secondary matter. You can upgrade your skills, polish your appearance, and build connections, but if the source remains neglected, cracks will eventually appear in every other area of your life. And here is the subtle danger. The heart does not change overnight. It shifts in small increments, often so quietly that you don't notice until something feels off. A little bitterness here, a little cynicism there, an unchecked offense, an unresolved wound. And suddenly, the purity of your heart's flow begins to change. You may still function, still smile, still work, but deep within, the control room is now operating under a different influence. This is how people lose passion, lose vision, and lose the tenderness they once had. Guarding your heart means paying attention to what it is absorbing daily. Just as the body takes in food and turns it into energy or waste, the heart takes in words, experiences, and environments, and it converts them into beliefs, emotions, and actions. If you feed it with negativity, doubt, and fear, it will produce insecurity, suspicion, and hesitation. But if you feed it with truth, faith, and hope, it will produce courage, wisdom, and love. The control room responds to what you allow in. And because life flows from it, what begins as a private condition eventually becomes a public reality. So when you think about the heart as the control room of life, understand this: every moment you are either programming it for freedom or for captivity. Every influence, every voice, every choice is a button pressed in that sacred room. And the direction of your life tomorrow will be decided by what you guard, protect, and nurture in your heart today. Many people hear the word boundaries and immediately think of walls, cold, rigid structures that keep others at a distance. But true boundaries are not built to imprison you. They are built to protect you. They are not about pushing people away. They are about preserving what is sacred within you. A wall is built out of fear. A boundary is drawn out of wisdom. The difference is that boundaries still allow for connection, for trust, for love, but they ensure that only what is healthy and safe can pass through. Think of a garden. The fence around it is not there to stop the flowers from growing. It is there to protect them from being trampled, eaten, or uprooted. Without that fence, anyone could walk through and take whatever they want, whether they mean harm or not. Your heart, your peace, your values, they are the garden of your life. And without clear boundaries, you leave them exposed to careless footsteps and uninvited hands. Boundaries are not selfish, they are stewardship. You are responsible for what has been entrusted to you. Your time, your energy, your gifts, your emotional well-being. If you do not set limits on what or who has access to these things, they will be drained and diminished until there is nothing left to give. Even the most generous person cannot pour from an empty cup. Boundaries make sure the cup is refilled so that what you pour out is not forced, but life-giving. The truth is, not everyone should have the same level of access to you. This is not about thinking you are better than others. It is about recognizing that your capacity is finite and your purpose is too important to be diluted by distractions or destructive influences. Boundaries help you say yes to the right things without being enslaved to the wrong ones. They allow you to give your best where it truly matters instead of scattering yourself thin in 100 directions. And boundaries are not only for people, they are also for environments, habits, and even your own thoughts. A healthy boundary might look like protecting your mornings from endless scrolling so you can start your day in peace. It might look like saying no to opportunities that look good, but pull you away from your core assignment. It might mean limiting conversations that always leave you drained, even if the person means well. When you understand that boundaries are not barriers but protection, you stop feeling guilty for setting them. You realize that protecting your peace is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without boundaries, your heart becomes overrun. With them, your life becomes a safe space for growth, for love, and for purpose to flourish. You do not build them out of fear of the world. You build them because you believe what's inside you is worth protecting. Discernment is like the watchman standing at the gate of your life. It is the quiet, inner wisdom that looks beyond appearances and sees the truth of a thing. Without it, the gates of your heart may swing wide for anything that looks appealing, sounds convincing, or feels urgent. And the danger in that is simple. Not everything that enters your life will benefit you. And not every open door was sent by God. Some doors are traps, painted to look like opportunities. Some people arrive like gifts, but are carrying poison wrapped in charm. Without discernment, you can welcome harm thinking it is help. A watchman's job is not to be suspicious of everyone, but to be aware. Discernment is not paranoia, it is clarity. It doesn't cause you to live in fear of what might happen. It helps you live in confidence about what you allow. When the watchman is awake, the city is safe. When the watchman sleeps, anything can enter. Thieves, enemies, or even wild animals. Your heart is that city, and discernment is the guard who keeps watch over what comes in and what goes out. Discernment sees beneath the surface. It recognizes the difference between flattery and genuine encouragement, between an urgent demand and a divine assignment, between a temporary thrill and a long-term blessing. Sometimes what looks like a blessing is a test. Sometimes what feels like a burden is actually a bridge to something greater. Without discernment, you may throw away what was meant to grow you or embrace what was meant to break you. The challenge is that discernment is not always loud. It often comes as a still, small nudge, a hesitation in your spirit, a sense that something is off, even when you can't explain why. Many people override that feeling because they want proof or because they fear disappointing others. But ignoring that nudge is like telling the watchman to look the other way while someone suspicious walks through the gate. Later, you will deal with the consequences of what you allowed in. And discernment doesn't only work on people, it also works on ideas, habits, and decisions. Just because a trend is popular doesn't mean it's for you. Just because a path is easy doesn't mean it leads somewhere good. Discernment will sometimes lead you to make choices others don't understand, but that is because they can't see what you see from the watchtower. When you cultivate discernment, you train your inner guard to be alert without being anxious, wise without being closed off, Open to love but unwilling to let harm slip in unnoticed. This watchman protects the gates so that only what builds you strengthens you and aligns with your purpose is given entry. And when your gate is guarded well, your life remains a place of safety, growth, and peace. What you permit in your life will always shape what you produce. The heart is like fertile soil. It will grow whatever seeds are planted in it, whether they are good or bad. Every word you hear, every thought you entertain, every habit you keep is a seed. Over time, those seeds take root and begin to influence your choices, your character, and your destiny. You cannot allow toxic seeds to be planted and then expect to harvest joy, peace, or purpose. The quality of your life's fruit is directly tied to the quality of what you have allowed in. If you permit bitterness to stay in your heart, it will eventually color the way you see people, situations, and even yourself. If you permit fear to dwell in your mind, your decisions will become smaller, safer, and less aligned with your potential. If you allow comparison to enter unchecked, you will start devaluing your own journey, no matter how much progress you have made. What you permit becomes the atmosphere in which your thoughts and actions grow, and you will always produce according to that atmosphere. Sometimes the danger is subtle. You might permit small compromises because they seem harmless in the moment. A little gossip here, a little dishonesty there, a little neglect of your spiritual life, nothing dramatic, nothing alarming. But over time, these small permissions begin to accumulate and their influence spreads into every corner of your heart. The problem is that seeds never stay small. What starts as a quiet thought can grow into a controlling belief. What begins as a single bad habit can become a lifestyle. On the other hand, if you choose to permit truth, kindness, discipline, and faith into your life, these will grow into strength, resilience, and clarity of purpose. Feeding your heart with gratitude will produce joy that is not dependent on circumstances. Surrounding yourself with voices that challenge and uplift you will produce growth that lasts. Guarding your mind from constant negativity will produce peace that others cannot take away. The reality is, you do not always control what knocks at the door of your life, but you do control what you let inside. You have the power to say yes or no, to accept or reject. Every permission is a form of agreement, and what you agree with will eventually shape you. This is why boundaries matter and why discernment is crucial, because once something is allowed in, it begins to shape what comes out. So ask yourself often, what am I permitting right now? Is it leading me toward the person I want to become or away from it? Is it feeding my faith or my fear? Is it building my purpose or draining it? Your life will always reflect the sum of your permissions. Guard them well, because they are not just shaping your present, they are designing your future. There are seasons in life when the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to close the gate, step back, and tend to the ground of your own heart. Healing is not weakness. It is wisdom. Too often, people try to rush past their wounds, thinking that staying busy or constantly pouring into others will make the pain go away. But an unhealed heart is like soil full of stones and weeds. No matter how good the seeds are, they will struggle to take root. You cannot build something healthy on ground that is still broken. Sometimes healing requires you to withdraw from the very things you once felt obligated to maintain. You may need to limit conversations, step back from certain commitments, or even distance yourself from relationships that keep reopening old wounds. This is not about punishing others. It is about protecting the space you need to recover. Just as a wound on the body needs to be cleaned, bandaged, and kept free from infection, so your emotional and spiritual wounds need a protected environment where they can mend without interference. Closing the gate for healing is an act of courage because it often means saying, "Not right now," to things you still care about. It means resisting the pressure to appear strong when you know your heart is still tender. It means admitting that you are human, that you bleed, that you need time. And in a world that celebrates constant activity, choosing to pause can feel like a risk. But it is a necessary one if you want to return stronger, healthier, and more whole. Healing is also a boundary because it defines what you will and will not accept in the season you are in. You learn to say, "I am not available for chaos right now," or "I cannot engage in conversations that drain my spirit," or "I will not sacrifice my peace just to keep someone else comfortable." These boundaries are not permanent walls. They are temporary safety guards that create space for restoration. And healing is not just about removing pain, it is about preparing for new life. When the soil is cleared and nourished, it becomes ready to receive new seeds. The lessons you learn in the quiet, the strength you rebuild in the stillness, the clarity you gain while resting, All of these become the foundation for what comes next. Without this season, you risk planting new dreams on top of unresolved hurt, which almost always leads to them withering before they can fully grow. So do not be afraid to guard your healing season fiercely. Let people call it distance if they want. You know it is protection. Let them call it selfishness. You know it is stewardship. Because when the time comes to open the gate again, you will be ready not only to give, but to give from a place that is whole, restored, and overflowing. That is the power of making healing a boundary. A guarded heart is not a closed heart. It is a free heart. True freedom is not found in letting anything or anyone have unlimited access to you. It is found in knowing that what is inside you is safe, protected, and nurtured. When your heart is guarded, you are not constantly reacting to wounds, betrayals, or disappointments, because you have already set boundaries that keep those things from taking root. This protection allows you to live and love without the constant fear of being drained, used, or broken. Freedom comes from knowing you can give without losing yourself. Without guardrails, you may find yourself overextending, saying yes when your spirit says no, and pouring into places that only leave you empty. But when you have a guarded heart, you give intentionally. Your love becomes pure, not desperate. Your service becomes joyful, full. You can show up fully in relationships and commitments because you are no longer trying to prove your worth or earn acceptance. You are giving from a place of security. A guarded heart also frees you from the prison of constant comparison. When you are secure in what you allow in, you are less vulnerable to the noise and pressure of the outside world. You no longer measure your value against someone else's highlight reel because your worth is anchored within, not swayed by every passing opinion. This internal stability allows you to walk confidently in your own lane, even when others try to pull you off course, and freedom shows up in your peace. When your heart is unguarded, you are easily unsettled. One negative word can derail your day. One unexpected setback can drain your hope. But when your heart is guarded, peace is not so easily stolen. You have learned to filter what enters your inner world. So chaos may knock at your door, but it will not set up camp inside you. You have learned to separate what is urgent from what is important, and to refuse to let every external storm dictate your internal weather. Guarding your heart is not about building an unbreakable fortress. It is about building a healthy rhythm of openness and protection. You allow love, joy, and truth to come in freely while keeping out manipulation, distraction, and bitterness. The result is a heart that is light enough to dream, strong enough to endure, and soft enough to love deeply. This kind of freedom cannot be faked. It is the quiet strength of someone who has decided that their peace is too precious, their purpose too important, and their soul too valuable to be left unprotected. It is the assurance that you can face life's challenges without losing your core. And when you live like this, your guarded heart becomes a wellspring of life, not only for yourself, but for everyone you are called to impact.